As a congregation that is very artistically gifted and inclined in many ways, writing and music and physical art, my guess is that some of you have felt this in your creative process, this desire that something larger, something deeper might appear, you might make room for. Is that right? You all felt this? I'm getting some nods. We might not describe it that way. Maybe like creativity emerges, our connections with some kind of universal question or truth might come forth. Now, it is a stressful process, right? Or it can be, because you have this vision, or maybe you have this idea with no clear vision of something great or deep that is to emerge, and it can be overwhelming, right? To want to make that all happen. Part of what our painter in our poem learned is how overwhelming it can be when we think about the whole thing. When we want the ocean to just appear on our page, and the townspeople told him, maybe start a little smaller, like start with a chunk and then you work your way up to the whole. And so often that is what we do, right? That is what the choir does in music rehearsals with Jonathan. You'll focus on a chunk, practice that, and work your way up to the whole. In this way, this balance and perspective of making space for our larger vision, our larger idea, our larger hope, while also focusing on a small part, just a corner of the painting, or just the hardest part of the choral piece, or just that plot twist in your story, can help everything else fall together. Just the corners, knitters aren't the corners the hardest part, right? Focus on something, maybe the hard part or maybe the easy part to get you going, is often a technique that we use in the creative process that we can use in our waiting as well. And we know that so often there is a lot of waiting in the creative process, right? Those of you who write or paint or sing know there is a lot of waiting in the creative process. Now, the creative process, however, is an active waiting, right? We're not just sitting back and not pondering. We're pondering, we're discerning, or we are participating in parts of the whole, creating parts of our larger vision. Now, I know in our first story, when we talked about choice, we almost talked about it as that you get to a clearing and there are two paths and you choose one or the other. And we know that choice is not often so cut and dry. There is not always one flashing moment where we can choose A or B, go left or right. No, so often our choices are made in our very active waiting, right? In our creative process, we are making smaller choices that are setting us down a path. That is how it is in life, and that is how it is in our active waiting. So my hope, as we talk about Advent, and as we acknowledge that there are so many ways that we are bringing life and ideas into the world, even in the winter, is that we can be conscious of how we are actively waiting and how we are creating. And so that we don't get too overwhelmed by the bigger picture, or caught up in any of the small chunks. May we, as this artist found, find some balance, some perspective in honoring the whole and attending to the parts. May it be so with us this season.